Good day mga Nakshi! So, nandito ulit tayo sa ating math class. So, for today's lesson, we are going to discuss factoring perfect square trinomial. So, ito yung magiging reverse ng ating square of a binomial. We have this form, a plus b raised to 2. So, in order to get its product, we are just going to get the square of the first term. Then, multiply the first and the second term, which will result to AB, then multiply it by 2, so we have 2AB. And then, we're going to square the third or the second term, which will be B squared. So, ito na po yung tinatawag natin na perfect square trinomial. Then, another one, we have A minus B raised to 2. So, square the first term. Multiply the first and the second term times 2. So, we have negative. So, this will be negative 2AB. Then, negative B raised to 2. That will be positive B squared. So, another perfect square trinomial na siya. So, paano naman kung given natin is a perfect square trinomial? Paano natin siya i-reverse to get its factor? So, we have this a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So, there are only 3 steps to get the factor of the perfect square trinomial. So, the first step is to get the square root of the first term. So, we have the square root of a squared. The answer will be a. The second term will be the square root of the third term, which is b squared. So, the square root of b squared is b. And then, the third step is to just copy kung ano yung symbol ng middle term natin. So, the symbol of our middle term or the sign of our middle term rather is positive. Then, we're just going to write it in this form. So, dahil siya is square of a binomial, automatically, the quantity will raise to 2. So, we have a plus b raised to 2. So, as you can see, na-reverse natin yung ating square of a binomial from our perfect square trinomial to square of binomial. So, let's go to our example. Okay, so for the first example, we have x squared plus 12x plus 36. So, syempre, i-check muna natin kung perfect square ba yung first and last term. So, is x squared the perfect square? Yes, and that is x raised to 2. How about 36? Is it a perfect square? Yes, that is 6 squared. And then, look at the middle term. Check if it is twice the product of first and second term, yung kanilang square root. So, the square root of x squared is x. The square root of 36 is 6. So, we have 6x. Then, multiply it by 2, we got 12x. So, perfect square trinomial siya. Pwede na natin gamitin yung ating 3 steps to get the factor of this PST or the perfect square trinomial. So, we have the square root of x squared, we have x, and the square root of last term, which is 36, is 6. Then, copy the sign of the middle term. So, we have x plus 6 raised to 2. So, ganun lang kasimple yung pagkuha ng factor ng ating perfect square trinomial. So, for the next example, we have 4x squared minus 32x plus 64. So, i-check muna natin kung applicable ba si perfect square trinomial sa kanya. So, the first term is 4x squared and that is a perfect square. How about 64? Is it a perfect square? Yes, it is 8 square. So, let's do the 3 steps to get the factor of our perfect square trinomial. So, check nyo nga po kung tama rin po yung ating middle term. So, the square root of 4x squared is 2x. The square root of 64 is 8. So, 2 times 8, that is 16x. Multiply by 2, that is 32x. So, let's do the factoring. So, the square root of 4x squared is 2x, and the square root of 64 is 8. Copy the sign of the middle term. So take note, just copy the sign of the middle term. So our factor will be 2x minus 8 raised to 2. So ganun lang kasimple yung perfect square trinomial natin. So para siyang integration ng difference of two squares, and pwede rin natin i-integrate dito si greatest common factors. So another example, we have here 27m squared plus 72mn plus 48n squared. So kung mapapansin ninyo, wala tayong perfect square sa first term at sa last term. So hanapan muna natin siya ng greatest common factor if meron. So 27, 72, and 48. What do you think is the greatest common factor of the three? So we have 3. How about the variable? So let's see. Walang m. So walang n. So wala tayong ilalagay na variable. Talagang 3 lang yung kanyang factor. So let's factor it out. 27 divide 3, that is 9. So kakopy lang natin yung variable kasi wala naman tayong pinactor out na variable. So we have m squared plus 72 divide 3, that is 24. So copy the variable mn. And 48 divide 3, that will be 16. 16, copy the variable n squared. So let's check if yung nakuha nating remaining factor ay perfect square trinomial. So 9m squared is a perfect square. Very good. Then 16n squared is also a perfect square. So let's just check the middle term if siya ay twice ng product ng first at last term. So we have the square root of 9m squared is 3m, and the square root of 16n squared is 4n. So 3m times 4n, that is 12mn, multiply by 2, that is 24mn. So siya ay perfect square trinomial. Pwede na natin siyang i-factor gamit ang ating step sa pagpa-factor ng perfect square trinomial. So wag niyo lang kakalimutan na ilagay yung na-factor out natin. So the square root of 9m squared is 3m. Copy the sign of the middle term and get the square root of the last term, which is 4n raised to 2. Huwag kakalimutan yung raised to 2 dahil siya ay square of a binomial. Pwede nyo rin naman siya i-expand like this. 3 multiply by the quantity 3m plus 4n multiply by the quantity 3m plus 4n. So, dapat parehas lang yung dalawang nasa quantity natin dahil siya ay raised to 2. So, alin man dito sa dalawang to ay tamang answer. So, next example. We have 4x squared y minus 40xy plus 100y. So, medyo malaki yung ating numbers. Pwede tayo mag-factor out dyan ng or gamitan natin ang greatest common factor. So, they are all both what? Divisible by 4. So, we have 4, then x, walang x. So, wala tayong variable x. Y. So, meron tayong ipa-factor out na variable which is y. So, let's factor it out. 4x squared y divided by 4y. So, ang matitira na lang sa kanya is x squared. And then, copy the sign. So, 40 divide 4, that is 10. xy divide y. So, mawawala na si y. Matitira si x. Copy the sign. 100y divided by 4y. So, 100 divide 4, that is 25. Y divide y, that is 1. So, wala na. So, makikita natin, mapapansin nyo na perfect square na yung first and last term natin. So, the square root of x squared is x. The square root of 25 is 5. So, 5 times x, that is 5x. Multiply by 2, that is 10x. So, perfect square trinomial na siya. Pwede na natin gamitin yung kanyang process sa pagpa-factor ng PST. So, the square root of the first term is x. And the square root of the last term is 5. Then, copy the sign of the middle term, which is a minus sign, and raise it to 2. So, in expanded form, we have 4y multiplied by x minus 5 multiplied by the quantity x minus 5. So, this will be the factored form of our given polynomial. So, ganun lang din kadali yung ating pagpa-factor ng perfect square trinomial. Basta alam mo yung process o kaya yung shortcut, madali mo na siyang masasagutan. So, sana madami kayong natutunan today. So, next meeting ulit. See you!